Good morning. Happy Friday. Had lots of people pointing me at an article where a lawyer, who is a very competent, very capable lawyer, said that the Arizona Supreme Court's order banning photography, which bans photography at all court facilities, not just the appellate court, not just the Supreme Court. It gives two addresses, and then it continues on, and any other facility, any other court facility or FCRB facility, foster care review board, something like that. Anyway, it applies to all courts. At least if you read it like a standard English speaker would read it. Oh, so it's unconstitutional, right? You should read this article because this attorney has a different opinion. Well, I've never given my opinion on whether or not it's constitutional, but let's look at it. Let's actually dive in, kids. Let's see how we can make sense of whether or not this order is constitutional or not. Well, first thing is it restricts speech at designated locations, at specific locations, at defined locations. It's not a blanket ban. And so the first thing we have to do is go to our forum analysis toolkit. So the first step is to figure out what kind of forum it is. Well, if you read U.S. v. Grace, the Supreme Court strongly intimates, they don't come out right and say it because they didn't have to in order to reach their decision, but the Supreme Court strongly indicates that a courthouse and the grounds surrounding it are in fact non-public fora. Non-public. Not a traditional public forum, not a limited, not a designated, but a non-public forum. That language was backed up because in U.S. v. Kakinda, the Supreme Court specifically held that post offices were non-public forums, and then they applied the reasoning in U.S. v. Grace. Makes it, it's not 100%, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it is definitely a non-public forum, but I'm saying that it most likely is. If I was going to be betting on it, I would bet heavily in favor of the courts finding the courts to be non-public fora. Non-public fora. Now that we know what kind of forum it is, or at least we have a strong suspicion as to what kind of forum it is, then we have to apply the test. The test is it viewpoint neutral? Yeah, it's viewpoint neutral. They don't care why you're filming. It's just, you can't, unless you get permission first. You can't film. Okay. And is it reasonable? Well, there's two places in this where you could have a fight. You could have a fight over what kind of forum it is, and you could have a fight over whether or not it's reasonable. But if we look at the disruptions that Took Sucks and crew have done over the past few years, and the other Phoenix auditors who have gone in and created scenes in Phoenix courts, I think a strong argument can be made that it is reasonable to ban photography on court grounds. Now, unless you're a moron, I'm looking at you, Steve, of PNP News. There is no way you could read that sentence to believe that it at all restricts photography on non-exclusive court use sidewalks. It says specifically in that sentence that it deals with sidewalks, courtyards, and parking lots that are for exclusive court use only. They're exclusively used for the court. So a sidewalk leading up to the court entry, but not one that runs along the street, a sidewalk leading around the court from one entrance to the other would be another exclusive court property. It's basically all the internal sidewalks. See US v. Grace, see US v. Kikinda. And again, the parking lots would be parking lots used for the courts, not for general purposes or street parking or anything like that. So, while you can have a fight over whether or not it's reasonable, I think with the disruptions that have been caused, I think it is reasonable. But again, your mileage may vary. I know a lot of people think that any restriction on photography is unreasonable because the courts are trying to hide the tyranny that's going on there, except for the fact that the courts are open to the public. Anybody can sit in and listen and watch. You can probably order transcripts of most proceedings. A lot of the appellate hearings are televised or shared on YouTube. You can read the appellate and Supreme Court level decisions for the states and for the federal government, the federal courts. I mean, I don't know how much more transparency you want. I mean, if you really want to know what's under the judge's robes, I guess maybe that's the only way you can be satisfied there's no tyranny going on. But reality called and it wants you to get your head checked. Thanks for watching. Have a great morning.